Hey, what's that? Oh, look. It's a penny. Well, that's going to be useful.
What's up, two-wheelers? Old Man Ronin here. Welcome back to the channel. Well, if you're like me and several other people on the internet and have multiple motorcycles to choose from, you know, which ones do you ride and how often do you ride them? Well, I try to ride them at least once or twice a week, but that's not always possible. And in fact, sometimes the bike sits for more than a week or two, or maybe even up to a month. When that's the case, I always do a pre-trip inspection on my motorcycles. And what we're going to use is if you haven't ever heard of it before, but what we're going to use is the terminology called TCLOCS. And we're going to get started right now. So what is TCLOCS? Tires, controls, lights, oils, chassis, and stand. I'll put a list here in the top, give you a little bit of what you should look for in each particular section. But we're going to start with tires right now. I thought we'd start with the Deluxe because this is the bike that I haven't ridden the most. In fact, I haven't been on it in about 3 weeks. But what I like to do is when we start with the tires, first just kind of give a feel for it all the way around. One of the things I think it's important is make sure there's no lumps and bumps, and you know, you can put your hand all around it and feel for things like that. And the next thing is, we'll use this little penny that you've seen me pick up. And you know, when I was a kid, I worked at a Chevy dealership in a little town in northeast Ohio. And they taught me this trick and it works perfectly. If you can see the top of Lincoln's head, you need tires. Now this is getting close. It's about a little bit down on his hairline, and the very tip there, which would be right about there, is 2 millimeters. That's got about 3, so that means, and these tires are over right at 4.5 years old, which means I need to make a replacement either this year or next year anyways. So, but yeah, the penny trick is really good. You want at least 2 millimeters before you change. This one's sitting there right about 3, and it's time for us to do the next step in the tires. Checking air pressure. Don't look at the tire manufacturer. They're going to give you maximum air pressure for that particular tire. That's not what you want to look for. What you want to look for is what the manufacturer recommends. Now, on a Harley Davidson, a lot of the newer bikes, they print it right here in this little sticker on the side of the frame. And in this one in particular, this model shows me I need 36 pounds at cold. In other words,
let's give her a check. Wow, see, we're low. This says, I don't know if you can see it, 30 pounds. So that means we're 6 pounds under. Now the rear tire says 40, and we'll have to check that as well too. But before we go anywhere, we will need to air up our tires. And it's not uncommon to let air out of tires. Again, you want to start at the ambient cold temperature when you check your air pressure. Well, let's move on to C.
The C part of TCLOCS is controls, and what we mean by that is we want to check not only everything on the handlebars, but also the mirrors and the controls for your feet as well too. The bike that we're on right now has underslung mirrors, so the first thing we do is we check the mirrors. Well, we make sure that they're not loose. First of all, make sure they're not swaying back and forth, and then we get on and we make sure with our hands on the handlebars that they are set at the proper place and we can see exactly where they're at. You always want to start out with your mirrors. How many times have you gone down the road and you've had to adjust your mirrors as you're riding? That's a big no-no because you're taking your eyes off of the cagers that are trying to kill you. And that's not funny, but it's the truth. Another thing I like to do is I like to make sure my switches, my housings and everything are tight, and my handle grips are tight, and I don't have any extra flop or slop in both the shifter and the brake pedal. That is one of the primary things I do with controls. I also like to look at how my handlebars are sitting, because things in Harleys, things kind of loosen up if you haven't guessed that. That's why I do every 1,000 miles I go through and tighten bolts. I think it's one of the best things that you can do. Well, let's move on to the next level. Well, we come to our third letter, which is L in TCLOCS, which is lighting. One of the things I think is most important about this inspection is the lighting, because
you want to make sure that cars can see you. They don't like to look for you, you know, and make sure you have both high beams, your passing lights, if you have them on your bike like my Road King and the Deluxe here, and also your turn signals, and most importantly your brake lights. Not only if you're riding in a group, but if you're riding with, in traffic, you want to make sure people can see you, because that's one of the most important safety measures that you can have as a motorcyclist, is make sure you're being seen and heard. You know, loud pipes save lives. I do believe that. You know, it is one of the most important things on a motorcycle, is being able to be seen. Now, some bikes aren't so loud, and that's cool. I like to have loud bikes, except for my new Himalayan right there. And we'll talk about that later. Our next step in clocks is the oil, or the fluids. Now, this is one thing I don't do before I ride. What I want to do is, I normally have to go get gas, and I like to top off before I go anywhere anyway, so that means I'm going to ride my bike to the gas station. And for me, that's about 5 or 6 miles. And when I get to the gas station, after I fill up, that's when I check the oil, because I want to make sure that the bike is at operating temperature, and that way you can check the oil level. And again, on the Softail models, it's right in here, and you pull it off and you check the oil level. Pretty easy. Now, as far as the other fluids, transmission and the primary, I check that every 1,000 miles as well too. And then of course I do my service at 3,000 miles, or every year. It depends. Sometimes, like on this beauty here, I don't get a chance to ride it that much. So when I do check change the oil, it is every year, and it may not even have 1,000 or 3,000 miles on it. So that's one thing you have to be in consideration. So that's another one of our letters in our TCLOCS. Letter C, the second one, which revolves around chassis, and that means making sure all of your components in your drivetrain is working properly. One of the most important parts is your belt tension. Harley recommends between 5/16 and 3/8 with 10 pounds of pressure. What I don't do is, I don't have a machine to do that, but what I can do is pretty much get my hands back in there and pull up with some pressure. If I notice that it's too tight and won't move hardly at all, I'm in trouble. If I notice it's slopping around, I'm in trouble. But if you keep an eye on it, and then every 3,000 miles have your belts checked, you know, by a professional. But if you use this simple method of putting your hand back there and raising it up, and making sure you're not getting over 3/8 inch of rise with 10 pounds of pressure, that's perfect. As far as the other parts of your drivetrain, just make sure everything's secure. Make sure you don't have any leaks. Make sure you don't have any anything rattling around or loose. Your floorboards or your shifter, like we mentioned before. Make sure everything is tight. You know, like I say, don't spend a lot of time on chassis, but the belt you do. If you have a motorcycle that has a chain, then you need to check the chain and maybe lube it if you've ridden it haven't ridden it for a while, or if you've ridden it a lot. And the final component of TCLOCS is the stand. Make sure that your stand, the spring is completely tight when it's raised up, so it don't flop down, and make sure that it's nice and secure and not loose when you're getting ready to ride. The stand helps you make sure. I always carry along a puck as well too. That way, if I've got fresh tar or even really hot weather like we're experiencing here right now in Ohio, it's in the 90s every day for like the last 20 days. So in that conditions like that, the asphalt gets very hot and your bike can sink down into it. So I carry a little puck with me in my back pocket, or if I'm on a bagger, then I put it in the bag. I always have it in the bagger, but I always carry it in my back pocket. That way I can set it up under there. Or if you go to a place and has you're parking in the dirt or the ground, then make sure that you have your puck there with you as well too, because that way it'll save you from embarrassment of having a bike laying down. Plus these things are freaking heavy. So that's one thing I want to make sure is check your stand, make sure everything's tight and loose, and that way it doesn't flop down if you're in the middle of a corner. If you've ever done that, that's going to give you a high side like you've never had before. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different than we normally do. No time on the motorcycle at all, more of a talking head type thing. But I think the TCLOCS system of pre-trip inspections is critically important for safety in motorcycling and being able to enjoy your motorcycle rides each and every time. If you're not blessed with having multiple motorcycles and you ride your motorcycle every day, then I would say that you could get away with doing this maybe like once a week or once every other week. I prefer once a week. If you don't ride your motorcycle or have a couple of them, do it every time you get on it.
especially you guys who only ride like once every couple weeks or once a month, that type of thing. And there's a lot of guys out there that only ride occasionally. Not everybody's blessed to being able to ride every day like we do. So in other words, make sure that you do your inspections, make sure you be safe, and make sure you have fun, because that's what it's all about. If you like the video, give us a big thumbs up. Subscribe, share, comment, hit the bell notifications. As far as the comments, I read every comment and comment every comment. And please, let's get us over 100 subscribers. We're at 70, I think 71 or 72 right now. We need to get more and more and more. That way we can build this channel and give you more content, I think, on things I think you would like to see. It's fun for me, and I know it's fun for you. Until next time, ride safe and keep her on two wheels, baby.